Alright, we exist. Currently we're gonna work on getting this not zipper. I know words, I swear. We're gonna work on getting this handle on the bag. Words. But today's gonna be— oh, fudge nuggets, I didn't grab the thread. Hold on, I gotta go kidnap the thread from the living room because I was using it on a different project. But basically, we are picking up where we left off yesterday. And we're finishing... and we're finishing this head bag, hopefully, and depending on how quick that takes us, we might work on a different commission altogether, because this is the last thing that we need to do for this commission. So if this goes well and quick, then I might end up working on a separate parts commission. Did I just have my tiny scissors? I don't know where I put them. It's gonna be one of those days. Hi, buddy. Did buddy have a good nap? My laptop is too loud. The music is bumping. I just woke up. Perfect then. Then you're having a good nap. That's one side done. Nobody said it was done well. It is on there very, very good. It's just not straight. Son of a bitch. You know, if I was smart, I'd sew this top side down. But the issue is this stuff is not cooperative. Top side down. So we can kind of see, you can barely see the stitching, but kind of see that it's not straight at all. So it's on there. It's definitely on there. It's just not straight. Which is fine, I suppose. The upside is if it's black on black, so it's not noticeable. Ouch, I've been stabbed. There we go. Alright, there's that one. Hopefully that one's straighter. We'll find out, I suppose. It's straighter. It's not wide enough, but it's straight. Because my stitching wasn't quite as wide as the ribbing, so it's all just on this one. It's perfectly square, though. So this one was as wide, but it wasn't straight. This one is straight, but it's not as wide. Listen, it's a learning curve. What matters is that this handle, it ain't fucking letting go. Never. Not once in its life. Alright. Now I gotta figure out how to stitch these things to the other ones. Because we have the front half, right? So we could either... Oh, sorry, Binkus. I can either stitch the back halves together and then stitch the front... Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Actually, no. I have to stitch the halves, the inner and outer halves together, and then stitch them together. The real question is how am I going to close up the front and the back halves? Because I'm pretty sure I can stitch the back half, the inside half real nicely. The outside half will probably have to be hand stitched though to close it. So I have to figure out how these actually go together, because I'm pretty sure that this right here, this section, is supposed to be stitched to itself, which that might be where I hand stitch it, if that's the case. If I could manage that, God only knows. I have to figure out how this connects to the other pieces. This goes to the snoot. Okay, so where is the snoot? Snoot is here. Is it literally just... It's just the wrong side of the snoot. Okay, so... Yeah, and then that goes to... Well, if they would sit still long enough for me to fucking look at them. There's a snoot piece. There we go. So this needs to connect to... Is this a 2? No, this is a 1. That need a 1. Okay. And then that should connect all the way up to there. Okay. I think I have it figured out. Bingus is just over here, chilling on camera. Hi, how you doing? We're doing funky stuff on the machine today. It makes sense, I promise, just not at the moment. It will make sense, though, eventually. Eventually. In fact, actually, this might be easier if I split the zipper apart. There we go. Which, actually, doing that, I might be able to get away with... I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is... Yeah. And then this goes all the way up to... It's supposed to go all the way up to... this. Right? No. This side is supposed to go all the way... Wait. This is a 1, not a 2. That's why. This side. And then it goes all the way up. This is why it's important to know which piece you're working with. Good lord. Alright. Don't worry, I am also still learning. Learning is forever. It never stops. The learning never ends. A boop da bingus. There we go. I don't know why that showed up after the fact. I don't know if it showed up weird for you like it did for me, but da bingo. Baby Mans is here too. You just can't see him because he's off screen. Yeah, you go, baby. You go, bingus. She's just laying here. And of course, that's when I run out of thread. That's alright. Easy peasies. There we go. And my thread's decided that it no longer wants to cooperate. This particular spool of thread really likes to wrap around at the very bottom of it, which makes it snag and do that shit. There we go. Now we'll snip off our little excess string here. Hydrate. We're gonna get as close to hydrating as we can get, guys. There you go. Was that loud as shit for you? I hope so. Just for you, buddy. This is a loud stream. That's what this is. Flip around. There we go. I want to share with you the good news. I got a job offer today that I'm going to take, working at a print shop doing graphic design. Oh, yay! That's fun! They also want to put me on the sewing machine and the embroidery. Oh, Ah, you lucky dog. You got the embroidery machine on there too? Hell yeah. That will be fun as fuck. I love doing embroidery work, not gonna lie. I just wish I had more reasons to embroider. I don't get reasons very often, so it's me sitting here like, man, I really want to embroider. And then I don't. Not an emotional Coke anymore. No, it is not. It is now a real boy. A real Coke. Okay, I need to... Whew, we cut that one close. That stitched up real close to the very edge. In fact, I want to double check that there's nothing peeking through here at some of these points. Because that's my worry at the moment, is that I caught just one spot somewhere. Where was it? It's right here. It's this seam right here. I was worried that there might be some peeking through, but we look good. I'll admit I'm a little rusty with the sewing machine. Do you have quick tips to remember getting back into it, or would I be better off dusting mine off and just do some practice again? I would definitely practice, because I don't really consider sewing muscle memory so much unless you like did it for forever, and even then it's not quite like riding a bike, you know. So I would definitely at least, you know, do some basic practice just so that you get the muscle memory back of, you know, working with the stitching. And every machine's different too, so it'll help a little, but it probably won't help a lot. My big things would just be like knowing the difference, because I don't know what kind of machine they're using at your job. I assume it's probably a top loader and not a front loader, because the front loaders are generally your older machines. But I would double check and, you know, see what like the tweaks are for like tension on the front loaders versus the top loaders, and how to fix the simple problems like that, because those are usually what fucking piss me off, is the tension issues. So, you know, just see what the possible causes for those would be, just in general. That way, if you do run into any of them, it'll be easier, and you won't be fighting for half an hour trying to get a single tension issue fixed and look like you're not knowing what you're doing. I'm actually going to trim this a little bit, because this one dart is really long compared to the other side of itself. There we go. And then we're going to stitch this. I gotta make sure this is actually getting stitched to the correct side, because this is the side I want it on, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Because this is the handle, and I want the handle to go on this side. So I want to make sure that's actually on the right piece. So we're going to start down here. I'm going to try a different method a little bit this time. There's like an older metal industrial looking hunk. I didn't get a chance to look into what kind it is. They also have a long arm, but I was honest that I didn't know how to use that. Yeah, I have no clue how long arms work. I would definitely like look up a tutorial, like a basics tutorial on them, just so you have like a bit of know-how. But a lot of your like industrial metal machines tend to be straight stitch or zigzag only, or possibly sergers, depending on what exactly they're used for. Most of them aren't, you know, multi-stitch type bullshit unless it's an embroidery machine, which is why you would get an embroidery machine. So a lot of your industrial ones are pretty much just straight stitch only or straight stitch zigzag, kind of like this one is, and that's it. They don't do a lot of the fancy stuff. Because their purpose isn't to do fancy stuff at home. Their purpose is to last for fucking ever and do it thousands of times a day. So they do one job and they do it fucking well. That is their entire purpose. Alright. And now we're going to start from this end, because I want to make sure that zipper lines up real nice. Not zipper, handle. I don't actually like that. I don't like whatever that was doing. So we're going to backtrack on that, I think. I think it's because of this right here. There is a dart right here that I did not stitch. So I think that's causing most of my pain. So I want to make sure that it stitches together nice. Where are my tiny blue scissors? Forrest, move, bud. Thank you. Don't worry, I found them. I found my tiny blue scissors. I know Bingus is just vibing over here. Isn't that right, Bing Bong? The Bingo Bongo. The Bingo Bongo Bartholomew the Third. She's like, this is bullshit. I shouldn't have worn a long sleeve. I'm gonna be cooking today. Absolutely sweltering. Do you want your sweater off, babe, or are you comfy? You seem pretty comfy right now. She's been cold lately, so she gets the sweater. I think a pillowcase would be a good one, because that's like practicing your corners and stuff like that. I think like a really good one, oddly enough, is, have you ever seen like the Tumblr frog plushie? I feel like that one's a good one because that kind of gets you back into the flow of matching up your patterns and doing curves as well as corners and stuff like that. And then flipping pieces out if that's part of anything you have to do. I doubt it is, but that little Tumblr frog plushie is probably a good example. I gotta sneeze. I exploded. I scared Forrest in the process. He was like, oh god, you sneezed. How dare you, in my presence? In the presence of our Lord and Savior, Baby Mans? Thankies. Thankies for the blessings. It's very dusty in our house lately. We have some birds now, and they love dust baths, so they've been bathing up a storm. And now our whole living room is just full of sand. They're outside birds. They're going to go outside as soon as we manage to get an outside setup for them. But for now, they're in the house vibing. They're very cute. But they're not indoor birds. They belong outside. They should go out. Okay, first off, Pigmom, I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that, cause what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Second, I have, actually, it's a more recent thought. I would say I'm the most unprofessional professional sewist, so I don't do normal sewing, like bags or pillows or things like that. I just do fursuits. And those are, you know, custom to the suit itself. There's no, like, one-size-fits-all for a lot of that. But I have considered, like, hand paws, feet paws, some of my other smaller... So, like, I actually might sell the file for my embroidered claws on the embroidery machine. I might sell the, what's the file name for those? I forget what they are. I might sell those, it depends. If I do, it's likely going to be through my website and not Etsy, because Etsy takes an insane amount of fucking fees. And I've heard that they like to not pay people sometimes. They like to say, oh, you made this much money this month, but we had issues with your shop, so we're actually not going to pay you. That is something that I've heard happen to several people. So it's something that I don't want to deal with. But I might sell them on my website and stuff like that. I do sell crochet patterns already on Ravelry and on my website. So that's a thing. So let me flip this out. But it's one of those things that I have to actually sit down and make the patterns proper, if that makes sense. Because what I have is quite literally pieces of duct tape that I've just saved for years and modified over the years. So I would have to actually scan them into scale and label them properly and do all that stuff for a pattern, which wouldn't take me too long to do, but it is something I would have to actually do. There's a loosey-goosey thing happening here. There we go. I've been feeling movement in there, but you're not usually able to feel until like 10-15 weeks. There's a lot of people who say they started feeling it at 6. Movement from the uterus and movement from the... Gotcha. I was gonna say, because that's real early for you to be feeling them wiggling around. Look at you, you sensitive little weirdo. That's probably why you're so fucking sick. Your body's like, oh, there's a thing in me. There's a thing, and it is in me. And now it's freaking the fuck out. Ooh, I have an idea. Embroidery plushes, and I was like, maybe you sew them too. Because I do crocheted plushies. I don't do a whole lot of embroidery plushies. I do have embroidered keychains, if that's what you were looking at. I've got a few different ones. I've got like a paw print, and I've got some more spicy versions on the spicy site. Which is fairly new. Actually, I just got in some fabric to make more of those. I did know about a lot of problems before they were visible, like my kidney stone. That is true. You're a fucking weirdo when it comes to that shit. You're just like, I sense it. The vibes are off. The crochet plushies, yeah. That's alright. That's alright. But I don't sew plushies very often. Mostly because I'm very bad at sewing plushies. It's not something that I practice a lot. I have a lot more experience in crochet. And there's a lot of other people out there that do sew plushies and sell their patterns and stuff like that. So it's like, it's not something that I personally care to do, so I haven't gotten into it. But the embroidery, I like the embroidery. I have had a few people ask me if I could do the embroidery for plushies that they are going to sew. And that is something that I do. But I don't personally sew plushies just because I'm very bad at it. Like, if I had a pattern to follow, I would. But I'm also the kind of person who doesn't like paying for patterns because I want to do it all by myself. I want to be an independent boy who does it all straight from scratch, no problem. And then it looks like shit, and it's because I didn't use a pattern. It's because I used my own crappy pattern. Did you get your itch, babe? Yeah. She was itchy. Alright. Humana, the other half. I don't know what you want from me. Go ask your dad. Go bug your dad. Oh, that's what you want? Well, it's stream time, buddy. I'm busy streaming. You know this. No, I'm not. No. We're not going right now. We can go after stream. Pig Mom! You're encouraging his bad behavior. I'm gonna take that off his stream. Fine. Pig Mom bought you a toy. They bought you a toy throw. We can throw it for you. You're spoiling this little brat. This little brat who insists on bugging me during stream. And whose hair is falling out of his hair ties. Look at him. Look right here. Look at these people. Get your toy. Yeah, you gotta stretch first. Yep. Good plan, good plan. You should always stretch before you do sports. Get your toy. Yeah. Can I have it? Can I have it? I don't get to. Yeah, I figured you could throw it out of the room and close the door. That's just rude. I don't know where Bengus is going. She's decided she also wants the toy. Can I have it? Running away. There we go. You're right. Now they're free. I love him to bits, but he does this every time. Her and her granny. Listen, she was cold. She was freezing her butt off. It's warm in here now. The sun's coming in, the heat keeps kicking on, so it's hot in the office, but the rest of the house is kind of chilly. So it's like, ugh. But at night, it's been getting really cold, and she's too old to get up on the bed anymore, and she sheds, so she sleeps on her own bed. But there's a couple nights where I saw her get up and, like, cuddle up against our bed on her bed, looking all cold, and she was like, no! So now she gets the sweater, and she's been sleeping like a baby. So, Grandma Bingus gets the sweater. Because she's been cold. It's been very cold here. And we don't want her freezing to death. No freezing to death for Grandma Bingus. Alright. Yup. Listen, don't ask me. I don't know either. I don't know what I'm ahawing and yupping to. There we go. Crimes! There is crimes. Bingus isn't here. Bingus has been kicked out. You're right. It's fucking Barbara's fault. Woo! Bath sounds nice. I took a shower this morning. Because I was very sweaty, stinky, dirty, dusty. So, I feel like Wade's hatred for Barbara is very akin to Tofu's hatred for Mark. It just gives the same fucking vibes. But also, for anyone who's curious, since we have the 3 birds now instead of just the 1, the first one we named Bob, because we're not creative. So we gave him the most generic name ever, and it was Bob. But now, we have 3 birds. So now, the other 2 are Mark and Wade. So we have the entire Distractable podcast in our living room every day. They do like to chatter a lot. They talk endlessly, for hours even. It's my favorite podcast. I don't want to jinx it by speaking too soon. I got consistent income coming in. I want to start looking into getting one of those Persona pelt blankets I've had my eyes on. What's your queue like for something like that? So, listen, alright? So here's the deal. My queue is almost empty. It's almost entirely empty. I have this. I'm currently in the middle of another commission that is almost done. I should finish that one in like 2 more days. And then after that, I have just a head left. And that is supposed to be my commission until June. I do have a con in May. I have to go down to visit family in May. All that good stuff, you know. So that'll take a couple weeks. But I plan on reopening my commission queue in June. And that is for all of my commissions. That is for the pelt blankets, the fursuits, the everything. Generally speaking, it is first come, first serve. That being said, because I have a very limited amount of slots I can do, it is also kind of like a, hey, it's going to be what I want to do type deal, and I want to tell you, I'm telling you, I want to make a fucking pelt blanket, because it's been so long. Like, I have on my queue right now a blanket for the dog, because that's how bad I want to make a pelt blanket, and he lays on my fur anyway, so I'm giving him his own fur to lay on. So we're going to do, if you want to put in a quote for a pelt blanket, I could tell you how much it would be, and then if you want to just wait until the commissions reopen and hit me up, then I will immediately put you in my queue. I'm telling you that right now. Because I really want to make a full-size pelt blanket and not just the mini one that I'm about to make. Because I'm going to make him a little mini, like, lap throw blanket. So you let me know. You let me know, and I will get you on my fucking queue. Because that is one of those projects that I am dying to do. Because I'm getting sick and tired of fursuit after fursuit. Don't get me wrong, I like making fursuits. But I really want to do more than just fursuits all the time, you know? I want some variety. The enrichment in my enclosure is no longer enriching enough. I need someone to switch out my perches and put in new toys for me. So, if you want to put in a quote, I will happily tell you how much it would be, and I will happily get you in my queue. Because I want to. And the turnaround on those is pretty low. It's like a couple weeks, generally speaking. I was so tempted to get one when I was getting him made. You could still get one. Not with him. It'd have to be at a later date. You know, it'd have to be a separate commission. But, you could. You could always ask for a quote and then save up for it, too. That's always an option. I know some people make you pay to get a quote or think, like, if you get a quote, you have to get the commission. No. You can ask me for a quote if you want to save up and commission me at a later date. That is totally an option. Because I get it. This shit's expensive. It's not cheap. So... And that happens a lot. I get a lot of people that message me and are like, oh, I'm going to save up. And then it's 50-50 if I'll hear back from them ever again. So, it depends on the person. But, because I would love to do pelt blankets. I would love to do more pelt. I would like to do paw pillows. I've done one paw pillow, and that finally sold after 2 years of going to cons. And I was so happy that it finally sold, because it takes up so much. That was the medium-sized pillow, by the way. The medium-sized pillow is 30 inches. I have patterns for mega pillows, which are 45 inches. And technically, I have a monster pillow option, which can be as big as you fucking want. That is up to the commissioner. That is where we discuss how big we want the final piece to be, and how much it's going to cost. The issue with the monsters is that they're almost impossible to ship. Like, they have to go unstuffed type deal. Or at least vacuum sealed. Because they are hard to fit in a box. Because the biggest box I can send out is a 20 by 20, which I have. But when you get over 45 inches for a plush pillow, it's a little bit hard to fit that into a 20 by 20 box. So it's a whole thing by that point. But like, I really want to do more embroidered badges. I want to do more pelt blankets. I want to do more paw pillows. I want to do, like, I do have fursuits that I want to make as well. Like, I have a few of the Artistic Liberty designs on my website that people can pick out if they want to do an Artistic Liberty suit, or they can get a fully custom one. I really want to do a scene suit, like a Sparkle Dog type suit. It doesn't have to be a dog. I just want it to be sparkle, you know? I want the thousands of rainbow colors type deal. And I also want to do what I would call an everything suit, which is just like a suit, a full suit, that has absolutely every single extra that I could possibly fit into it. It would be an expensive-ass suit, but it would be so cool to have a suit that has a pickable nose, and a mouth fan, and ear vents, and LEDs, and removable eyelids, and extra pockets, and squeakers, and extra pockets in the bodysuit, and squeakers, and full body lining, like, the whole shebang, you know? And, like, if there's one or two things missing, that's whatever, because, like, everybody has preferences, right? Like, not everybody wants full body lining, not everybody wants pockets in every single part of their bodysuit, but even if it's, like, 90%, like, I would love to do a suit that's just, like, every single box is checked off type deal. I am sticky. Why am I suddenly sticky? What is sticky on me? Where did it come from? I'm gonna go wash my hands. I'm sticky. I'll be right... Oh, yeah. I don't see anything sticky on the Coke, and that's like my pinky, so it would have been like around this height. Unless, of course, you know, I wiped it off the Coke with my pinky, so. Could have been the dog toy. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go wash my hands. I return, and I am no longer sticky. No, not crimes! No! Ah, my own stickers used against me. Alright, I'm still deciding which Sona I want to get. I'd prefer my Dragon Sona, but she's scaly, so unless you used Minky on the top, maybe, it might not translate well. So I could get my Hedgehog, because she actually has fur. And I talked to my partner about it, and they're interested as well. But they have white fur, so they're hooning and hawing about it. Okay, so white fur, as far as a blanket, is honestly probably easier to keep clean than, say, a fursuit, right? These are machine washable. The pelt blankets are machine washable, so you can flip them inside out, toss them in the wash. We could do the Dragon Sona with the Minky. We could do either Mochi Minky or Plush Minky. We could do it like a padded type thing. So it's more like plush, I guess would be the way. Something like this, right? Where it's a layer of fabric and then there's like stuffing underneath. We could do Minky that is stuffed on the underside so it's a bit more plush and thicker, like the fur blankets are. Or we could have it be flat and more of like a lightweight summery blanket. That's completely up to you. But we could do it entirely Minky, and that would actually make it cheaper for you, by the way, to do a full fleece blanket. Because, like, the pelt blankets are usually one side is either shag or teddy or even beaver fur, depending on the person, like what kind, how short they want the pile to be on their fur. And then the underside, that is not the pelt, what would be like the skin side of the pelt, is usually either regular Minky, Mochi Minky, fleece, or bunny shag. I could technically do Sherpa. I can technically do Sherpa, but I will hate it so much. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I appreciate the follow. I am personally the kind of person who hates the fake Sherpa fabric with a passion. because it gets matted and everything gets stuck in it, and it's just a bad texture all around. I hate touching this stuff. But if someone wants it for a blanket, I'm not gonna say no. I'll just be sad the entire time I'm touching it. I know a lot of people that really like Sherpa, and I'm like, I hate it. I hate it so much. But like I like the rabbit minky, right? Because it's that fuzziness that the Sherpa is, but it's not the cottony bad touch texture, and it doesn't get stuff stuck in it. It's more like a fur fabric. It's kind of like a fuzzy, low pile fur. So if you want something that's a bit fluffier and warmer than minky, rabbit minky is a good way to go. I prefer that over Sherpa any day. And that's kind of like double-sided fuzzy. But if you don't want both-sided fuzzy, we could also do fleece minky or mochi minky. The mochi minky is a bit harder to do, but not impossible. You'll see occasionally my foot gets stuck on the cottony batting, because it's not made for this. It's a very stabby foot. But that's okay. What happened? Okay. Okay, we're still good, though. Cool. I thought I saw a weird thing on Twitch, don't mind me. I can't read. There we go. But yeah, no, I would love to make a pelt blanket in general. And honestly, for the white fur, the only thing I'd be worried about is if, like, you're eating spaghetti on top of your blanket. Like, just don't eat spaghetti on top of your white fur blanket, and you should be good type deal, you know? If you got dogs that jump up on the couch with dirty feet, you might get some staining. But, like, we have a fursuit that has white on it. One of the twins is mostly white. And keeping him clean has actually been fairly easy. Generally, so long as you spot clean as soon as you notice, and then you can usually soak in vinegar for most stains. But sometimes if you need something stronger, so stuff like woolite will help get deeper stains out. So that's one half of our noggin. He's a big boy. I could fit my... This is a hood now. This is a hat. This is actually really comfy. Aside from my glasses. But, like... This is actually really... Oh, it's staticky. It's really staticky is what it is. Oh. It's no longer comfy. It's staticky. That's alright. But... Okay, so one of these is the inside and one of these is the outside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the outside half first, because then if I have to hand stitch the inside, it's going to be on the part that you don't see as much. So it'll look nicer. Did I say that right? Did I say I'm doing the outside first? I'm doing the outside first. For anybody who is curious, I'm doing the outside first. There we go. This is also just a weird spot, though, because this is where, like, the outside and the inside separate from each other, right? So this is just a spot that I'm probably going to have to hand-stitch to some extent anyway. But we're going to try our besticles. Alright, that should be that. I was debating how to stitch up the zipper. I might still have to go back in and hand stitch that afterwards. So that's a whole thing. But oh, threads everywhere, threads everywhere. A hydrate. Okay, that's what I missed. I missed the hydrate. I sent in my quote form. I'm excited. Hell yeah! So odds are I'll probably get to you by the end of the day on that. So, because I like to do quote forms. I like filling out paperwork. It's a hobby of mine. There may be an issue with her ref, though. It's a 3/4 turn for her front and back, so I may need to look into getting her a proper front-back ref. And she does also have fur, so she'd probably take quite a bit of different fabrics. Gotcha. I say I'll take a look at it. A lot of times, so long as there's a decent view of, like, the front and back, you know, like, as long as I can understand what's going on, it should be fine. My only concern is with characters that are, like, asymmetrical, because if it's a 3/4 view, then there's a whole part of the body that I can't see, whether it's the front or the back side from that view, if that makes sense. But if it's symmetrical, it shouldn't be an issue. I think I stuck things in spots that don't go places. Now I gotta figure out how the fuck this thing folds back together. Uh-oh. Spaghettios. Oh, it's because it's this. It goes like this. This one goes into here. There we go, there we go. So then it should be this whole seam. Which actually looks really nice. Until we get to the zipper, and then it looks kind of sad. So I will have to do a little bit of hand sewing there. That's okay. That's an easy fix. That's just a ladder stitch. Would you do 2 separate quotes from the same one, or would I need to do separate ones? That depends. If you're looking for either blankets with identical features, like if you want them both to have fleece bottoms, but separate characters, that's fine. If you want the same character, but you're wanting to see what the different prices are, if it does or doesn't have certain features, or if it has different things, you can just put that into the notes and I can get you quotes. But if it's like 2 separate characters with 2 separate details for what they do and don't want on the blanket, then you would have to send separate quotes. It's easiest if you send 2 separate ones, but if it's it's easiest for me if you send 2 separate ones. It might not be easiest for you. So you just... It depends. Okay, yeah. So symmetrical, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but I can look at it later and I'll let you know if it's an issue or not. So this is generally what the bag looks like. We do still have a lot of work to do. Before I stitch up the inside... Oh, we got stuck on some thread. That's a problem. Let's fix that. This is where I stitch back over, so that's not going to hurt nothing. Okay, cool. I'm trying to figure out what would be the easiest way to stitch the inside first off. Because this is inside out. Which means if I... Then I can't flip it. Unless... Ooh, but if I leave... If I leave a hole towards the bottom, then I should still be able to, like... Flippy flip, right? Right? Maybe? Problem is I also want to stuff the antler parts, so I might just have to hand stitch the entire inside. First, I want to stuff the antler parts, the antler sections a little bit, because we want to protect those. That was the whole thing, right? And you want to make sure that there's a little bit of extra padding all the way around in there. So, I'm going to grab a little bit of stuffing, and that's definitely going to be hand stitched. So I'm actually probably just going to move this all the way out of the way for a bit. Because essentially, there's a reason I made these seams the way I did. There is a seam that goes all the way around where the antlers are, We're going to stuff from here up, and then I'm going to do a whip stitch, or like just a quick running stitch type deal, all the way around the seam to keep the stuffing above that, which should be easy enough. And we're not going to need too much stuffing, probably just, you know, a good handful. I say not too much, and then I put massive piles on the thing. Very silly of me. We probably don't even need all of this. We probably only need like half of it. But we'll see. We'll see how it pads out in here. Because we just want a little bit to make it a little bit thicker. And then our bigger concern. Oh yeah, that's great. It's good stuff. We're just gonna steal him for a second and make sure that this still... Would you get off the fucking dummy? Thank you. I wanna make sure that this still fits over his antler. With the stuffing. In fact, actually, we're going to do a test tuck. So when you put him in your head bag, you're going to want to stick his neck up into his head. This is easier if I'm not sitting in a chair and if I'm on the floor instead. So I'm just going to be over here for a second. Don't mind me. Don't mind me yelling. I yell when I'm nervous. Okay, no. Would you please get in there? Puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again. Alright, we are not cooperating. Why? Because we're not rotated properly, that's why. Okay, let's try that. It's a little difficult to get them in here, just because the antlers. But I find in general every suit kind of has its quirk as far as getting into a head bag. There we go. That's much better. There we go. It does fit in there. Get in there, child. Good stuff, good stuff. You definitely want to hand sew this spot. Good lord. Otherwise, you're going to have a hell of a time getting your zipper back together every single time you put your head in. There we go. Yeah. He's in there. The child is in the bag. I don't know if you guys... I guess I could have turned the camera that whole time for you guys to see a bit better. But... And then this way, you can carry him next to you. And it's a bit easier to carry with the handle. Well, he's in there. This side is padded right now, and I like that. This feels a lot better than naked antlers. So if that's good padding, that's what we know. I am going to stuff up in the middle a little bit too, I think. Because as you can see, it goes quite a ways above his hair poof in there. I don't want to overstuff because that'll make it harder for you to get him back out. But this is kind of the reverse of how I got him in there, is I just kind of stuck him in antlers first. And if you kind of rotate them out, and gently untuck the points. Because they do like to get caught a little bit on the fabric, right? Because they're pointy, so they like to like jab up even if it's not the spot they're supposed to be in. Well, he gets in and he gets out. So that's good. That's the good thing, that he fits. He's got some fuzzy stuck to him. That's alright. But yeah, that'll be a thing that I do kind of a mini tutorial for you on as well. So we know that that's a good amount of stuffing, which is not a lot of stuffing at all, actually. I thought it was going to take more than that, but I guess not. So, you can't see me, I am in the light. I am too goddamn bright and heavenly. I'll be back over there in a second, hold on. Just make sure that he's all nice and lightly stuffed. Lightly stuffed. Because we don't want to overstuff, because then it's going to make it really hard to get the points in. And the last thing you want to do is snap off a point trying to get your boy in the bag. You don't want to put too much pressure on him, but you also want him to be padded, which is very, very important for this bag, I feel like. Yeah. It also helps if the section that his antler's supposed to go in is actually up in there. There we go. Alright. Move, child. I don't want to leave him like that. Here, we're going to sit him over here for now. Because I don't feel like untucking him at the moment. Thank you for the check-ins. Alright. I'm gonna let everybody hang out right here, because God knows I'm gonna be sewing on my lap more than anything else, as I usually do. I already forgot what the fuck I was doing. There he is. Alright. So we're gonna be stitching this seam on the outside to the matching seam on the inside. I could do it by just top stitching straight through, but I'm not going to. I'm going to whip stitch all the way around. Or at least most of the way, enough to keep the stitching in there. Keep the stuffing in there, because I have to stitch from the zipper all the way around back to the zipper, is what it looks like. And then all of this center seam is going to get stitched back up too. So can't do shit because my needle's not in here. Let me go get my fucking needle. Okay, my needle is currently connected to a different commission, so we're gonna switch gears for 5 seconds and finish sewing. I literally have like 2 inches on this shoe to finish sewing, so I'm just gonna sew this shoe for a second, and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna finish up what we were doing. This is for that other commission that I am currently working on, because it's not requiring the machine to work on, so I can work on it on the couch while watching YouTube or some stuff. I'm doing another Greek god run of Cult of the Lamb, and for whatever reason, Hephaestus... Do I know how to read? Has had it out for Poseidon this whole time. Poseidon just reached old age, and Hephaestus wanted me to sacrifice him, so I mean it worked, but geez. Well, I mean, as long as it worked, who's to complain, you know? I need to stick this back over there. Floor's clean, it's fine. I don't know enough about Cult of the Lamb to know what 90% of that means. But I do know Greek myths, and Greek myths are just family drama. That's 90% of Greek myths. It's usually a lot of jealousy and a lot of cheating. But, tiny. So for anybody who's curious, though, this is what the inside of feet paws look like if they have built-in shoes. And now that that's done, I can actually use my needle like I wanted. Before this, Hef wanted to imprison Poseidon, but I somehow grabbed Hera instead and accidentally imprisoned her. Oh no! Isn't Hera the goddess of war? Did you imprison the goddess of war, or am I crazy? Well, Ares is the god of war. There is usually a god and a goddess for both. For the same thing. What does Hera do? Is the queen of gods. Close enough. It's close enough. That's what I'm thinking of. Athena's the goddess of wisdom and war. Listen, man, it's been so long. Either way, you put one of the big ones in jail. Marriage and mother. That makes sense. That makes sense that she'd be the goddess of marriage and motherhood. Although I'd argue that she should have gotten a divorce for how much Zeus fucking cheats. That man needs to stop turning into swans and fucking people. Different pantheons. See, it's been so long. I haven't touched Greek mythology much since, like, middle school. There was a time where, like, I knew all of the gods right off the top of my head, and what they were for, and what they did, and, like, multiple stories about each one type shit. Now it's like, meh. Percy Jackson has a really good explanation on why she hasn't. Except I don't think Percy Jackson is entirely the most accurate as far as Greek mythology goes. Like, it's not the worst, but I do think it takes some liberties here and there for the sake of, you know, the Percy Jackson series. I need this to actually stuff up in one piece. Where is me? There we go. This is going to be annoying to me solely because I don't actually know what seam I'm sewing. It's this seam to this seam. That's what I'm whipping. Oh, come on. Would you cooperate for 5 fucking seconds? God damn. Now my thread's the one not cooperating. It's not, but it makes sense. Goddess of Marriage would be weird if she... Weird title if she got divorced. I mean, that is true. But also, she's in a shitty marriage. She is in such a shitty marriage. I think it's more ironic than anything that she's in such a shitty marriage, being the goddess of marriage. I'd argue that Greek is my favorite. I didn't get too much into... I don't know Norse mythology, and I didn't get too much into Egyptian mythology either. I got a little bit into it, but not a whole lot. I'd say Greek was my big one. There is a book that has nothing to do with Greek mythology, really. And it's called The Swan Thieves, and it's about a detective trying to figure out why this artist attacked a painting in a museum. And it's a very famous painting of Zeus as a swan coming down to have sex with a lady, right? Because that's what Zeus be doing all the time. In fact, I used that image as a master's study in college, that painting. And it's very relevant to the plot as to why he attacked that painting in particular. And then there's this whole other side plot that relates to the main plot that has nothing to do with the artist attacking the painting. Which is, you know, interesting, I guess. But it's a very good read. Especially if you like romance, I guess. It's kind of more of like a simple romance novel. No, you reached old age. I was looking into Norse paganism when I was younger for my religion, but became agnostic pagan. Interesting. See, I don't know a whole lot about paganism in general, much less the different variations. You could say I grew up in a Christian household, but it's not like the go-to-church Christian. It's more like a... I watched VeggieTales as a kid, and that's about the extent of it. Christian. Bitches love VeggieTales, man. You can't go wrong with VeggieTales. But that's the extent of anything, actually. I consider myself an atheist at this point, because I don't really follow any religions. I just follow the don't be an asshole rule, and that's kind of it. Just try your best not to be an asshole, and don't break some laws, you know? Don't hurt people. Be a good person. That's the closest I get to a religion. But I did go to church for several years when I lived down south, because if you don't do that when you live down south, you might as well be getting your, like, putting a sign on your back. Bitches love VeggieTales, just like bitches loving sticks. Listen, I want you to find me someone who doesn't like VeggieTales. I have never met a person, Christian, non-Christian, or otherwise, who doesn't like VeggieTales. Even if you don't believe in the Christian Bible or the stories that are told in the show, it's a good show! Fucking amazing storytelling! Like, plus, we got the silly songs. I want to sing about my Cebu, you know? Or my hairbrush, or my Christmas cookies and the tax collector. It really depends on the pastor. The pastor, for me, I find enjoy church. Yeah, it definitely, each church is distinctly different. I've been through a few churches, which granted, if you're down in the Bible Belt, at least where I was, a significant portion of them are Baptist, right? So pretty much every church I went to was a Baptist church, aside from one that I think was non-denominational. So that is the extent of my experiences with churches, is a few Baptist churches and like one non-denominational. I haven't been to a church in years, but when you live in the good old South in Alabama, you can't sit here and say I don't go to church to people, because they will tell you that, oh, well, you need to go to their church, how do you not go to church? And it's a whole thing, right? So it's just easier to not. It's easier to just say, okay, well, now I'm going to a church for the sake of getting people to get the fuck off your back. And that's what I did at, 12 years old, because I got sick and tired of every person at school going, oh, you should go to my church. My church is the better church. It's a whole thing down there, and I don't get it. But it's like, I understand having your beliefs, but there's such a vibe around whether or not you go to church. It's interesting. And then, of course, you got, like, the cliques between, oh, well, I go to a Baptist church, or, well, I go to Methodist, They're very interesting down there, from my experience, anyway. And that was, a good 6 years of living in Alabama. It's different, state to state, area to area, but where I was at, it was interesting. And it's especially interesting coming down south to that from upstate New York, because upstate New York, you're lucky to find a church, I feel like. It's very rural up there, kind of middle of nowhere, which I didn't realize as a kid. It didn't feel middle of nowhere to me, but God, driving back up there a few years ago, it's the fucking mountains. It's just the Appalachia up there. And they have a state speed limit of 65, so you're driving through the endless fucking mountains. It took me 13 hours to get from here to there, right? 10 hours of that was just New York! Because we were driving all the way from down where it meets Pennsylvania in the bottom left corner, up along the Great Lakes. So we passed by, like, Syracuse and shit. But we didn't even see Syracuse. We just saw fucking mountains. And then I got pulled over for doing a 80 and a 65, because I didn't realize they had a 65, and I thought it was 75. And if you're from Michigan, 75 really means 85, but I was a good boy, so I only did 80. And I was the only fucking person on the highway, and I come down this big-ass hill, and what do I know? The biggest speed limit sign I've ever seen in my life saying 65, and a state trooper in the middle of butt-fuck-nowhere mountains. Yeah. It was a very, very interesting drive. So don't speed in New York. They're almost as bad as Ohio. Don't speed in Ohio. They have quotas out the ass, and they will pull anybody over. Especially if you're out of state. But also, Ohio doesn't get to exist anymore. Ohio is fake. It is a myth. I now enlist Canada as a real country, if that means that Ohio gets to be the fake one. Was that a thing for anybody else as a kid? Like, people used to joke about Canada being made up. Like it was a fake place. Because I remember that being a big thing when I was a kid. Sorry, I'm confused by my own stitching right now. This this goes to here. Okay. And then I die. Ah! Alright. Where is my sewing needle? There it is. What are you doing? What are you doing in there? There we go. Don't ask me what it's doing, I don't know. Hydrate! Thank you for the hydrate. We're getting as close as we can with Coke. I'm supposed to go to Ohio for a wedding this year. My partner is from there, and I've heard stories. That made me nervous because I grew up in little nowhere Idaho. My ex was from Idaho, and he used to get mad because he would say Idaho, and people would get it mixed up with Ohio because they sound the same, even though they're completely different states. So that was his big thing. Brain hole. I lost my train of thought. Ohio is... I want to say it's interesting, but it's really not. It's pretty much just Michigan, but with more cops. With more speeding tickets. Michigan with more speeding tickets, and it's dumb. Like, it's all farm fields for the most part, except for the cities. And if you don't have to drive through Cincinnati, don't drive through fucking Cincinnati. Because, oh my god, the highway there is god-awful. I specifically, when I drive down south, the fastest way is to take 75 through Cincinnati to get pretty much anywhere down south. I go out of my way by about half an hour to specifically go through Indianapolis instead. Because it is so much nicer to drive through. Like, Indianapolis is a 2-lane highway. Cincinnati is 6 lanes with ons and offs on both sides. Constantly. Because the city is fucking massive. I don't know. And it's always raining for some reason, or it has recently rained, and everybody's getting in car accidents. You'll have people getting on the left and having to get immediately off on the right, so they just whip right the fuck across. Like, I prefer driving in Detroit. And that's Detroit. People hear about Detroit and they're like, oh my god, the driving's awful. No. Driving the highway through Detroit, even by the airport, is still better than driving straight through Cincinnati on the highway. Cincinnati highway is god fucking awful. The rest of Ohio is really just boring as fuck. It's country highways. It's fields of... I don't even know what they do, because I don't know that they do corn. I'm sure they do, but... It's middle of nowhere for hours on end. But the biggest thing that I know from Ohio is just don't fucking speed in Ohio, because there's cops everywhere waiting to give you a speeding ticket, because they have quotas to fill. So just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't speed in Ohio. You'll die. No, but, there was the Ohio State Fair incident. But I don't know that that's necessarily specific to Ohio. And actually, if anything, it's very weird that it happened in Ohio, because Ohio in particular has very, very strict rules on amusement rides because of Cedar Point. I do recommend Cedar Point if you've never been. It is fucking amazing. If you like roller coasters, you'll love Cedar Point. Cedar Point is called the roller coaster capital for a reason. It has good shit. But I digress. That's why I find it very interesting that the Ohio State Fair had that incident a few years ago. Because again, they have they have a lot of laws, very strict laws on amusement parks. Because they've had Cedar Point and fairs and stuff like that for years. And they put in laws for incidents that have happened outside of Ohio in order to prevent them in Ohio. They have some of the best laws on it. Probably not as strict as... Well, I don't know. Europe is pretty sketchy with their... Fun fact, state troopers have strict chase rules from what my team lead and LT have talked about, in Michigan at least. Fun fact, I don't think they give a fuck. They might have rules, but let's face it, they ain't following them. I know that they ain't following them, because I know some of the rules that they're supposed to have that they definitely... break all the time, and it doesn't matter, because as long as you're committing a crime of some sort, or as long as they can make up a crime and say you were committing it, they can get away with whatever they want. Because accountability is 0. I'm showing my age, but do you remember the Vine where they're driving? Okay, first off, do not say you're showing your age and then mention Vine, please. Because that makes me feel old as shit. Corn! Fuck yeah! Ew, wheat, gross. Corn! Yeah, that does sum up the Midwest. I actually don't know of anywhere that really grows wheat. At least not near me. It's all corn out here. Corn or soybeans. Lots of beans. And sugar beets. There's tons of sugar beets. We actually had a sugar beet factory in the city that I used to work in, so you'd know when it was sugar beet season, because Jesus fucking Christ, the entire town stank for months. It's awful. Sugar's pretty good, though. I go 90 past state here, they don't care. I don't have drugs or kids. Yeah, no, you live in the place that gives out licenses to just about anybody. Like, you don't even have to know how to drive to get a license down there. It's fucking ridiculous. I've been there. I hate driving there. Nobody there knows how to drive. It's awful. Nobody follows road laws whatsoever. Potato and alfalfa land. Hell yeah, I love me some potatoes, though. Idaho potatoes are so much better than russet potatoes, and I live by that. They're basically the same potato, except russets taste like dirt. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, no matter how much you wash a russet, it's still gonna vaguely taste like dirt. An Idaho potato doesn't do that. I also like Goldens, though. Like, I like most potatoes. I like all potatoes, except for sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes... I have beef, and you need to know about it. Sweet potatoes are a fucking lie. They are carrots in disguise, and they are not potatoes. That is my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I told you I have beef with sweet potatoes. And I blame the South for my beef with sweet potatoes. Listen. Imagine you're going to the shittiest public school you've ever been to. I have been to multiple public schools, alright? I've transferred several times. This is the worst school I've ever been to. We're talking 4,000 kids, at least 32 kids to a class. There's cops on campus all the time because there's so many drugs and shit going on in this school. Multiple kids are stabbed all the time. There's so many kids in ISS that ISS is booked out past the end of the year into the next school year. It's that fucking bad. Now imagine you're eating your stupid ass shitty school lunch because it's a public school, so it's shit food, and every single thing, every day. It could be pot pie. It could be pizza. It doesn't matter what the main dish is. The side dish is either a baked sweet potato or sweet potato fries. You never get real fries. You never get a real baked potato. It's always fucking sweet potatoes. And I hate them. They're disgusting. I want real fries. I don't give a shit if they're baked or deep fried. I want a real baked potato, not a sweet potato pretending to be a baked potato. Because that's a fucking lie. That is a vegetable. Potato is not a vegetable. Potato is good. Potato is potato. Sweet potato is vegetable. That's not the same thing. That's a lie. And my mother drives me nuts because she's like, oh, I love sweet potatoes. And I'm like, we're not talking to you. Nobody cares if you love sweet potatoes, Mom. And that was every single fucking day. One of the sides was always sweet potato something. Cube sweet potato. It was awful. And I'm like, no. So I wouldn't eat half my fucking lunch because I don't like sweet potatoes. I would rather they actually give me fucking carrots, and I don't like carrots. Carrots are gross and yucky. I need to figure out where that seam is again. That connects in the butt crack of the ear. There it is! I found the butt crack of the ear. And that's how I feel about sweet potato. I might not have opinions on many things. No, I have opinions on many things. I have a lot of opinions. We all know this. My strongest opinion is fuck sweet potatoes. I don't care who you are. Sweet potatoes are not potatoes. My ick food is spaghetti and red sauce. Had it way too much as a kid and just tastes bland as fuck. My fiance also hates spaghetti, but for a completely different reason. I will trade you. So here's the thing. It also depends on the spaghetti, right? Like TGI Friday spaghetti is just watered down grossness, right? It's watered down tomatoes on top of noodles. That shit's disgusting. But if you have good spaghetti, I will happily take your good spaghetti and you can have my sweet potatoes. I don't care. But my fiance very specifically does not like spaghetti noodles. You could still make spaghetti, but with bow ties, and it's fine. It's the spaghetti noodles that are the problem. But I definitely understand, like, not liking a food because you had it too much as a kid. I do not like grilled chicken. Because all the time, I swear to God, this is my parents' comfort food. But, listen, bow ties are the, okay. Other strong opinion I have. Bow ties are the superior noodle shape. possible substitution, specifically the SpongeBob shaped mac and cheese. But it has to be mac and cheese, and it has to be well, it doesn't have to be the SpongeBob shapes, but it has to be the shapes. Not like, oh, mac and cheese and elbows. It has to be shapes. Like SpongeBob, or Minions, or Unicorns, or whatever the fuck Kraft is doing now. It has to be the shapey ones. But it has to be mac and cheese. Any other sauce, and it doesn't really work. Bow ties is the superior noodle of noodles. You put it in any sauce, it's good. Thick, thin, it's a good noodle. Put it in soup, it's a good noodle. Bow ties are the best noodle. Shells are a close second. And I do like rotinis. But bow ties are superior. They are the best in the cream sauces, but they're also really good in spaghetti sauce. I had a great Italian restaurant spaghetti to give it a fair try. I honestly would prefer SpaghettiOs. Aww. That's sad. See, here's the thing. Restaurant spaghetti is never as good as actual homemade spaghetti. And even then, it depends on who's making the spaghetti. I am very particular about my spaghetti and what it tastes like. I could give you my spaghetti recipe, but you're going to have to write it down because I'm just going to say it out loud. Because it matters. There's very important steps that aren't exactly specific. It's just important. Like, you have to do this. It doesn't matter if you do it well. It just has to do it. So, you gotta get the Prego meat sauce, right? Prego meat flavored sauce. And then you gotta do ground beef or whatever. You don't have to put ground beef, but if you're gonna do it, you gotta do ground beef in it, right? Put a little bit of extra oregano and a pinch of sugar in it. It sounds weird, but it makes it better. Oregano, sugar. And then a little bit of garlic powder. Stir that all up. Like, it's like we're talking a pinch of sugar, we're talking a shove of garlic, and we're talking a shove of oregano, alright? It's not a whole lot, but it's enough to add it to the whole jar, right? And then you boil your spaghetti noodles and you put that shit on top. And that is the spaghetti sauce. It's simple, it's easy, it's delicious. Prego on its own is okay. So much better when you add that little bit of sugar. Makes so much of a difference. And and of course the garlic. Garlic is always good. I like garlic. I could never eat spaghetti while I lived in Italy. It's interesting. When the fuck did you live in Italy? When did that happen? You lived in Germany. You went to Italy. You did not live in Italy. Yes. That is the recipe. Good job. You got this. It is good. It smells delicious. It tastes delicious. It's very savory without being, like, burnt beefy. Okay. Yeah, that's not living, that's visiting. Which technically, I guess, means we could say the same thing for Germany. Except we were there for like 6 months in Germany. It was legit 10 minutes away, so it counts. I mean, you're not wrong, but you're gonna make some Europeans really mad. Were we there for a fucking year? I don't remember that being that long. I can't believe we lived out of that fucking hotel for a year. So, for people who want to know, first off, Pig Mom is family, right? Siblings. That's the whole beef here. Thank you for the follow! So, for those who don't know, parents are military. Oh, that's right! I forgot Dad had a house there for a while. So, parents, my dad's military. So we were stationed in Wiesbaden for a while. And for several months, we lived out of an on-post hotel. And it was god-fucking awful because there was no privacy. And then Mom left, and I was expected to do shit. I know Dad was there for a hot minute. I know Dad was there. I didn't think we were there for that long. And then we moved here. We moved back here, and Dad stayed there because they didn't have the specific doctor that my mother needs for her disability. Even though they said they would. Good old military, promising you things that aren't real. A friend from Basic got Italy as his first duty station. Nice! I say we did Germany twice. We did it when I was really bitty little before Pig Mom was born. And then we did it again when I was a teenager. We got lucky with that. Our options were pretty much Germany, Alaska and South Korea. And then they're like, your options are Germany or South Korea. And then they said, fuck you. It doesn't matter. You don't get to pick. You're going to Germany. So we got really lucky. But my father-in-law was National Guard, and he lived in Italy for several years when my fiance was extremely young. And he always talks about wanting to go back. He says it's beautiful there, and he loved it there. And he's like, I would love to go back to Italy. I would love to just live there for forever. My partner is vegan, so I'll have to try your recipe when they're out of town. I'm flexible, though, so it's fine. Gotcha. Now, the only reason I specifically say the meat sauce is because that's what I use. That's not to say that if you end up liking it with the meat sauce, that you couldn't try it with a meat-free version that's just vegetables. I don't know... It shouldn't contain any dairies. But you would have to double-check the label on the Prego stuff. It shouldn't. But I know they have veggie versions. I just always use the meat and then add my ground beef, because I feel like that there's definitely the meat flavor definitely enhances it. But that's always something you could try. I feel like everybody has like their own idea of what spaghetti should taste like. That's how I eat it, is with the meat flavored sauce. But yeah, no, Italy's nice, Germany's nice. Pretty much if it's overseas, it's really nice. Like Europe, all of Europe is pretty, except for Paris. I've heard that Paris is nothing but cigarette butts. Very dirty, people are rude, that sort of thing. Which, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I was at a touristy place, I'd be kind of pissy too, honestly. As someone who worked in a tourist town, I would also be pissed if I lived in a tourist town. And people frequently, all the fucking time, showed up and were like, oh my god, yeah, Barry! Like, yeah, I would also be annoyed. So I get it. But I've heard that it's very, very dirty in Paris. Germany is very beautiful. Lots of nice mountain scenery, fresh air, the town, like the actual cities, the towns are very nice. Venice wasn't that great. You don't know how to spell Venice, buddy. Venice wasn't even great. Public urination is legal, so the street and river are nasty and smelly. Damn. That's what I always hear, is that the river there is gross. I hear that Europe is spendier to visit than I imagined it would be. But maybe I've only heard it from a tourist perspective. I think it depends, too, on, like, what you do and where you go. Because, like, when we lived in Germany, we weren't, you know, in the capital. We weren't in Berlin or anything like that. We were in little Wiesbaden, which is a little further away from Frankfurt, which I'd say is a bigger one. But overall, the prices of things like in stores and stuff are pretty comparable to the US. And first off, Germany does not, I mean, they might have a sales tax there, I'm pretty sure they do, but it's not on top of the product. It's included in the price at every store. Nobody adds sales tax on after in Europe, because that's a fucking American thing and we're stupid for it. Secondly, the euro exchange rate's a little weird, so it's about like $1.80 or something like that. It depends on the day. But overall, I'd say that, like, the prices of the actual objects aren't that much more, if at all, than ours, unless it's imported from the US, and then it's stupidly expensive. Especially if it's on post. Everything on post is expensive. If it's off post, it's decently priced. But also, my understanding, at least for where we were at in Germany, is that people were paid better than if they were in a similar town in the US, just in general. Actually, if we'd stayed there, because I was a junior at the time, or at least going to be a junior in high school at the time, if we had stayed there and if I graduated there, I would have the option to go to college in Germany. Now, for German citizens, I was told that it's free. It is free to go to college. For non-German citizens, such as the Americans who live on post in Germany, it is $500 a year. $500 to go to college in Germany. And it's probably, honestly, a better education than what you would get in the US. Downside, I would have had to actually be fluent in German in order to understand 90% of the lectures, I'm sure. Which I'm not even close. I know a handful of words still, and that's about it. Oh yeah, the food there, so good. I will say I hate fast food in Europe, though. The fast food in Germany, I hated all of it. Even the KFC. It's just... It's different, right? Like, it's still deep fried chicken, but it's so much different. Because it's actually real chicken, and it's, like, good oil and stuff like that. Like, that's the closest you get to processed food. But it doesn't have the... Like, KFC chicken does not taste like KFC chicken there. It is a completely different flavor because of the rules on preservatives and things like that. Now, if you go to an actual restaurant, food there is delicious. Always. It's always good shit. It's fresh shit. It's amazing. A lot of times at, like, the fairs, they have fairs and holidays all the fucking time. Like, they have a holiday every few weeks. Constantly. It's constantly. There's some sort of thing going on. There's a fair or a festival in town. It's a thing. And they do gyros, which, if you've ever had a gyro in the US, you've likely had the gyro from Arby's or something similar, where it is the processed slab of lamb meat. Now, I am a fucking weirdo, okay? I am a freak of nature. I like my processed foods. I like my meat slab, alright? I love the soft texture of lamb meat in a meat slab. But if you don't like that and you prefer it to actually be meat, in Germany at least, they will do it shaved meat. Their idea of what a gyro is not a sandwich, by the way. If you ask for pita bread, they're going to bring it out to you sliced up like a pizza. They don't know what the American gyro is. Yeah, they had all kinds of stuff. Germany also has what's called Kinderbier, which is what it sounds like. It's beer for kids. It's generally like a 1 or 2% kind of alcohol, so it's very, very low. But also you can start drinking at like 15 in Germany. Difference is, though, you can't get a license in Germany until you're 21, and it's an extremely hard test to pass because they have very strict rules on driving there. Which is fine, because they have amazing public transportation. We're talking buses, trains, the whole shebang. They have everything when it comes to public transportation, and it is awesome. We're talking you could spend €5 for an all-day pass. Easy peasy. Probably even cheaper to get, like, an annual pass. 16 by yourself and any age with parents. Right. Because they have different laws on drinking there. You can oh, Bingus, your breath stinks, babe. I gave you a breath stink. Why are you so stinky? Why are you so stinky? You smell like farts in your mouth. She's gross. But yeah, so it's very interesting. I forgot where my brain was going with that. Just how... It's very interesting how drastically different, like, the age limits are on things there. Like, with the alcohol and the driving and stuff like that. Which, honestly, I would love it if we had more public transportation here, because that's one of the biggest things I miss about Europe in general. If you ever look at a bus stop in Germany, it will say, like, bus... First off, the buses come, like, every 10-15 minutes. It is not that long of a wait, if even that long. But we were, like, in a pretty separate part from everything because we were on post, so the buses took a little longer. But also, if they say that they're going to get there at 6:58, because it will say that on the signs, it will say to the exact minute, at 6:58, the bus will be there. They fucking mean it. The buses are never late by more than a minute or two. And that's assuming that there was, like, a severe road accident and, like, people died type deal. Like, something better be on fucking fire. They are never late. They will also, however, absolutely slam the fucking brakes and throw you into the seat in front of you on a yellow light. Because if you run a yellow light, you lose your license. They are very strict in Germany about that shit. Salt Lake City is the closest I've had to proper nice public transport. I miss it. It's so nice. Yes, proper public transport is always the best. I miss it so much, man. I miss it so much. I need to stitch all the way across this, right? Yeah. Yeah. See, I've never been to Salt Lake City. I need to go. That's probably one of the places I'll end up eventually, I'm sure. I've been to a lot of the bigger cities on the east side. I've never been west of Chicago. I guess, well, I may have been west of Chicago, but not by a lot. Like, if it is, it's by, like, a few miles. It's not. Because we went to MFF, and that's in Chicago. I've been to Detroit a few times because that's local for me. I'm in Michigan, so it's only a few-hour drive. I've gone to a few different cons there. I've vended at a few different cons there. Very nice downtown Detroit there. Right off the river is fucking beautiful, and the people are very nice. Especially when you consider that one of the conventions I went to was a furry convention, and I was walking around out in public in full suit, so I had the entire costume head to toe on. Every local person that I saw outside walking around loved it. They got a kick out of it. They were all excited. They're like, oh my god, what? Is there a convention going on? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, where's it at? I gotta see this. We're like, it's in the Renaissance Center. And they were all so hyped to see furries out in public. The only people I had an issue with was the girls' volleyball team that was also booked in the hotel with us. They were not polite. They were not nice in the slightest. In fact, they were snotty, mean, rude, and quite frankly, just assholes all around. And they would say shit like slurs to the furries because, I don't know, they're mad that we exist in a convention with them. And I feel like that was an oversight on the hotel's part. But the actual people that live in Detroit were so nice. I did not get a chance to ride the, oh, what's it called? They have a train. It's kind of the monorail. They have a monorail type deal. The People Mover. Yes, thank you, Quinn. I did not get a chance to ride the People Mover. I really wanted to. Hopefully I'll get to the next time I'm down in Detroit. Which is nice because it kind of takes you around the downtown area as well. But there's not... It's kind of hard to get anywhere else in Detroit. Unless it's like immediately near the People Mover. Which is kind of sad. Like, it's really hard to drive in the city itself. And there's not anything else for public transit down there, really. I mean, they do have bus stations, but I don't know that they're very frequent. I had a similar experience at FC, volleyball girls as well. Yep. I feel like, especially with girls' sports teams in general, the high school girls' sports teams, whether it's volleyball, basketball, it doesn't fucking matter. This is my experience as a high school student and as an adult. They tend... The girls on the teams and their parents tend to be the snottiest, rudest people on the fucking planet. That's not true for every single one of them. But it is the trend that I've seen. Now, ChangeForge, I don't know anything about vandalizing the bathrooms. I did not hear anything about that from the con. So whether that was an issue with the volleyball girls or the furries, I have no idea. But I do think that was a big oversight for both the con and the hotel. I'm sure the con probably fought with them on it, and the hotel said, fuck you, we're going to book you both. Or just didn't even tell them that, you know, there was a volleyball girls group booked the same day. But I did hear about them physically threatening people. I had slurs thrown at me several times while passing them. I had the teenage girls laughing and making fun of me and shit. You know, normal teenage girl behavior. But, like, the parents were throwing slurs. The girls were throwing slurs. I did hear that someone actually had a physical altercation with some of the parents. Like, they just were not having it. I heard that they were very pissed. I didn't hear. I saw them very pissed about the elevators because, God forbid, they wait. Someone was mad because they had to wait 10 minutes for a... Oh, boop the bingus! Boop, 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 boop. You go bingle. Yes, you are. You're so yellow. You're such a yellow dog. I remember the Sunday morning, they were pissed because they had been waiting. I got in the elevator. I specifically got in one that was going up to go down because that was the only way I was going to get an elevator from our floor. I had been waiting for an hour and a half by that point to get an elevator because that's how busy it was. Mind you, I was already out of my room. My room was done. I was helping friends get their stuff out of their room. And I had an entire fucking cart full to the brim, top to bottom, one of the big hotel carts. There was no way I was getting in an elevator, and I wasn't going to pass up one that had space. So I got in one that was going up to go down. I went up about 10 floors. We get there. The dad he's like, we've been waiting here for 10 fucking minutes. This is absolutely bullshit. Like, you know, just being absolutely belligerent and rude, insisting that we should get out of the elevator to let them in because they have to leave. And I said, sir, I waited an hour and a half. I recommend you take the stairs. And his whole face just fucking dropped. And that's when the elevator doors closed. Like, because let's face it, those doors did not stay open very long. They were much better than the old hotel's doors, because those would slam on you, but they still weren't great. But yeah, like, everybody, it's Sunday at a con. Everybody's trying to check out. If you want to get quick elevators, you have to get up super early and check out at like 7 a.m., which is what I did. And even then, I still had to wait a little bit for elevators. But you know, by this point, it's like 1 in the afternoon. The elevators are busy. You know they're busy. We can't magically make them emptier. That's just not how it works. But they each had like a suitcase per person. They were on like the 70-something floor. But it legitimately would be quicker for them to walk down the stairs than to keep waiting for an elevator. But no, I heard about them like grabbing people and shoving them out of elevators to get into elevators. I heard about them punching people. I did not hear anything about the vandalizing of the bathrooms, and I know nothing about that, so I can't confirm nor deny. And I had personally had offensive shit. Have had people grab me while I was in suit. The volleyball people specifically, I mean, grabbing at me while I was in suit, because people don't have manners when it comes to furries. And I did have several grown adult parents of the volleyball teams call me various slurs. So I made sure that when I wrote my review for the con and was like, hey, I don't know whose idea this was, but yeah, no, actually there was people that we know had issues like that, like physical issues with them. Not severe ones, not like getting punched in the face or anything like that as far as I know. But as far as like the whole shoving people out of elevators thing, some people that you and I know had that happen to them during the con. So, that was fun. And that wasn't even on Sunday. That was, like, just during the con, when the elevators were not that fucking busy. So, I told him, like, listen, I don't know whose idea this was, but, don't fucking do that again next year. Do not book us with a high school anyone. Do not book our convention around a minor event. I feel like that is a severe oversight for the hotel and the con, but especially the hotel, to have a high school league event, an event of minors, booked at the same time as an 18 plus only con. That is an issue for many reasons, especially considering that several people from the volleyball were forcing their way into con-only spaces where you needed to have a badge to enter. I heard that they were doing that, especially in Artist Alley, and making fun of people. But also, like, it's an 18 plus con for a reason. There are some adult panels, and there should not be children near these adult panels. So I just feel like that's a very big oversight on the hotel's part to book what is essentially a children's event, whether it be high school or not, they are still minors, to book a children's event during an 18 plus con. Even if there was not adult themed panels, it is still an adult event that does not want children. Yes, there were definitely people, especially after hours, when it's late at night, that were wearing stuff that would not be appropriate for children, because it's an 18 plus con and they are allowed to do so. So, specifically booking a children's event during an 18-plus con that's not appropriate for children, and even if it could be considered appropriate, it's still supposed to be adult only, is a very big oversight. And I'm like, that should not have fucking happened. Ever. So that's how I feel about that. And I made sure to leave a note about that. But other than that, the con was decent. It's not as good as other years, but I feel like a lot of it was just due to limited time and planning. Since they switched over so late and they had such little time and change of dates and stuff like that. I don't really feel like that was the con's fault. I feel like a lot of it was more so the hotel, if anything. I had very few complaints about the con itself. Loon and I saw parents and their under 10 kids on the floor where main events room was, at the same time as people wearing the After Dark outfits. Yeah, that's an issue. And that's where you get comments. That's where you get the whole rumor thing that furries are kink or anything like that, and they're solely like an adult fetish thing, is because you have people that are not expecting to be at a furry event being at a furry event after hours with their children that aren't supposed to be there. That is not okay. And that's how you get a bad rap. And that's how you get into trouble with hotels. And that's how you get into trouble with society. Like, that shouldn't have been a thing. My experience was these minors coming up to furries and saying inappropriate things. And those furries, dumbasses, would say inappropriate things back to them. Like, I agree, kind of need to keep spaces separate. Yeah. And that's just it, too. Some people, even in the furry fandom, just are not bright when it comes to interacting with the rest of the public. And there's a very big reason why it's generally why it is highly recommended, in fact, maybe even demanded, that random furries do not talk to the media. And it is because it's very easy to say shit that can get misconstrued. And it is very easy for them to skew it to be what people think it is, which most people think it's a sex thing. I have had talks with many, many normal people, including my dentist office. My entire dentist office knows I make fursuits, by the way, for anyone who's curious. And they get a kick out of it every time. I think I might have scared the poor training dentist the last time I went in for a filling, because my normal dentist didn't do it. They're like, hey, we scheduled you with a student dentist, by the way, to do your filling. And I'm like, oh, I would be fine with that if it wasn't a back molar. And they're like, well, either you let him do it, or we reschedule you for months from now. And I'm like, guess he gets to do it, which he was very good at it. I didn't have any issues with him. And they gotta learn somehow, so it's like, well, shit. I just wish it wasn't one of my back molars, because I am horrible. First off, with local anesthetic, it takes multiple shots for local anesthetic to work. And when it's the back molars, they shoot into the back of your mouth. And I don't know what's up with my nerve there. They hit it so hard every time, and I feel it shoot down my neck. Like, it's an awful searing pain. Worst needle I've ever had in my life. So I told her, like, listen, I'll let you do the needle once, because I know you're learning. But if I'm not fucking numb, we're drilling anyway. Because I've had that happen before, because that's what happened the first time, right? So they only did it once, and then they came in, they're like, you're numb? And I was like, I guess, I don't know. And I was not numb. I could feel exactly where the tools were and everything. And it still hurt less than the needle itself. So, and he was learning. And that's what we ended up doing, is he did one shot. It did not numb me all the way. We kept on drilling anyway. But I have explained to both my dentist and my hygienists that, yeah, I'm a furry. It's not a kink thing. It's just like cosplay. That's what I tell a lot of people. It's just like cosplay. We dress up for fun as our own characters. And then suddenly it clicks for people really easily. I find that that's usually what does it for people. They're like, oh, I know cosplay. Cosplay is fun. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're, easy peasy. No, how could you kick Miette? Every time someone talks about, like, betraying their cat, I just think about Miette. Miette has been betrayed. Death upon mother. Mother shall die, be imprisoned for 1,000 years. Poor Miette. poor Saber. Saber has been kicked by the hedgehound. Death upon hedgehound. Prison for 1,000 years. And they'll be so dramatic about it, too. Like, it's no between. They're either like, oh, you touched me, or they're like, ah! Betrayal! But, yeah, no. So, like, my whole dentist office is fully aware that I'm a furry. And the last time I went in was when I was getting my teeth done. My filling. And they asked me, and they're like, oh, did you do any new suits or anything like that? I was like, oh, yeah, I got some pictures. Hold on. And I kid you not only is my actual doctor looking at these photos, my dental assistant is looking at the photos. They insist that the student dentist look at the photos. And then my usual hygienist is walking by with 2 small children, is like, oh, are you showing photos? And she proceeds to usher these random children that I do not know into my room as I'm sitting in the chair waiting for my numbing shit to kick in. And she's like, you gotta see this kid. Like, they're like 7 or 8 years old. And there's like 7 people in the dentist. In this one little dentist office. This one little room. Looking at pictures on my phone of fursuits. And then, of course, my actual doctor walks in. And she's like, what the fuck is... Why are there 7 people in this room? And it's amazing. They get a kick out of it every time. They also used to be very excited when Bingus would come, because she used to come to my dental appointments before she retired. And, you know, I would usually be like, listen, you did my cleaning, I'll let you pet my dog. Like, she was very well behaved, and you were very well behaved, so everybody gets to have a pet before I leave. And they got a kick out of it. Bingus got a kick out of it. She used to love getting pets. Say, huh, used to love saying hi to people. Yeah, you still do. You still love saying hi. But as long as I was feeling good, you know, they got to say hi at the end of my dental appointment. So long as everybody was done with their job and nobody's distracted from their job, everybody gets to get pets. On the second one, I had fillings on my top front teeth. Oh, yeah, they do it, like, right in the... I had several on my front. I had, like, 8 fillings to do because it had been several years since I'd been to the dentist. So they'll do it, like, right up where that little tab is. And I swear to God, I felt it go into my nose. Like, I felt pain up here in my sinuses from that needle. And I'm like, no, if it's not here, I don't want the needle. I was like, I will sign a waiver. I don't want to deal with it. I just tell my parents I vendor attend art shows and or Comic-Cons. I find it's easier to explain to them that way. They're just stoked I can make money off of art because they never believed in me. That is such a fucking move. My parents know I'm a furry. They think it's weird as fuck, but they're like, whatever, you're making money on it. And they love to tell people that I make thousands of dollars off of suits. What they don't tell people is that they also do my taxes, and they know damn well I'm poverty level. Because they would rather show off, hey, my child makes these really intricate costumes for thousands of dollars. And, like, it's funny when I tell people, and they're like, oh, well, how much do those costumes go for? I'm like, oh, well, the full suits, the full thing head to toe is, like, $5,000. But just a head is, like, you know, 1 or 2. And they're like, oh, my God, that much? I'm like, and I still can't make minimum wage. It's still not minimum wage. Because that's how expensive and how long it takes to make fursuits. And as some of you may have noticed, I am fairly quick at making fursuits compared to most other suit makers. Like, I get shit done. And a lot of that is because I hyperfocus, and a lot of that is because I push myself to get shit done. I put myself on really weird timelines. I don't like making people wait. So I get shit done. I gotta make sure that this is actually going all the way to the edge, because I want to make sure that we're stitching outside of the seam allowance still. But I was grabbing the armrest so hard to keep my hands from flying at them. My feet were also... I know that is a thing that I had to do once or twice with the fucking needles. Was like my arm instinctively wants to go like this, like, oh, recoil, and they think I'm gonna grab for their hands. I'm like, I'm not. I swear. It's just, oh, fucking hell, like, ow, it hurts. God awful. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I'm actually gonna flip this inside out because that'll make it easier to, well, mostly inside out, I guess. Because that'll make it easier to make sure that the inside's big enough. But yeah, so like my parents know I'm a furry. They know I make fursuits and all that jazz. I don't know what I did here. There we go. And they tell people all the time. They share people my website and stuff. And I wonder how many people have gotten quotes from me because my parents have shown them. Probably not many, because I feel like most people they show are middle-aged white people that don't know what furries are in the first place. So much less want a fursuit. But it's interesting. Scared mine when they saw my tongue piercing. That's funny. They almost didn't use pre-numbing gel before the needle. It was when I recoiled away from them they said something. They realized I didn't use the gel. Yeah, that numbing gel don't do shit on me. Like, it does on my tongue. My tongue will go numb. My actual gums and shit, though? Nah, I feel all of it. And it doesn't help either if I'm having a bad day medically, because I have Tourette's. So now imagine someone is in your face with a needle, and you start ticking. It's not great. So I usually try to make sure that I have a good day. I try my best to prevent bad days. Because that means I have to reschedule the appointment. That's generally what that means. Unless I can make myself sit still just long enough for them to do whatever they're doing. Which is why when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, I did anesthesia. Because first off, they're yanking a tooth out of me, and that's kind of scary. Very intimidating, not gonna lie. Second off, I don't want to have my head swing while they have God knows what in my mouth to rip a tooth out. You know, that's bad. Plus, I did not have simple extractions. My teeth were still under my gums when they took them out. They were causing issues with other teeth, so they had to be removed in order to fix the other teeth. They couldn't do anything with my other teeth until those ones were gone. My dentist appointment just got rescheduled to tomorrow. That's funny. Well, hopefully, it's not a bad appointment. Hopefully things go well, then. My teeth, apparently, are just falling the fuck apart. And my dentist is like, listen, you need to floss more. And I'm like, I know. I'm not going to. And they're like, you should. And I'm like, I know. Still not going to. I cannot stand floss for the life of me. We're lucky I brush in the first place, because it's such a sensory issue for me. I try my best to brush my teeth. Sometimes it takes me multiple sessions, because the toothpaste makes me gag. I don't like the foaminess of toothpaste, and I don't like mint at all. So it's all around an awful experience every time. So sometimes I have to brush my teeth twice in order to get all of my teeth. I have to brush them as much as I can, and then take a break and come back to it. It's awful. But as far as flossing goes, I cannot stand the actual floss between my teeth. So the current solution is I'm eventually going to get a water pick. Listen, I spent years trying toothpastes. I've got one that somewhat works for me, at least in flavor. And, oh, this is what made me sticky. Why are you sticky? I'm not gonna get sticky. We're good, I'm not sticky. But, like, I swear, just within the last year, my teeth have just been falling the fuck out of my mouth. They're like, I think the last time I was there, like, we need to watch this tooth, this tooth, this tooth, this tooth. Not that one, but this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Definitely fix that one. Watch this one, this one, this one. This one, this one, this one, this one. Not that one. This one, this one, this one. Like, 90% of my teeth, they're like, we need to keep an eye on those, because, they're looking a little sad. And I'm like, oh, goody. So that's how my cleaning went the last time I had a cleaning. And then I had a filling after that, which was with the student dentist. And that one wasn't too bad. That one was actually on a tooth that had already had a filling. And that one was one of the teeth that was affected by my wisdom teeth. So they're like, yeah, it's kind of doing a thing, so we're just going to fill it in. We're going to do a filling just to make sure it doesn't get any worse. Because essentially, if this tooth gets bad, it's gone. Like, straight up gone. It's like root canal type shit. They probably have to take the entire tooth out type deal. Because it got really, like, not 90%. I'd say like 3/4 of the tooth is cavity. 3/4 of the tooth is filling now. Because what had happened is my wisdom teeth, rather than coming up through the gums, came forward at my other teeth. They were fully 90 degrees rotated and were coming in against my teeth. And what this did is it pushed my gums over top of my molars and caused a perfect little pocket over my tooth for stuff to, like germs, food, stuff like that, to frequently get stuck under and just do gross stuff. So by the time I even noticed that there was anything wrong, most of my tooth was gone. And they're like, you might need a root canal. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really hurt, like, at all. I still feel it. It doesn't hurt unless, like, something spit, like, cold, you know, like if I get ice water in it or some shit like that. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, you're probably fine then. And they looked at it and they're like, we'll have to see when we get in there. And then I had to wait 4 months for my wisdom teeth. So we're lucky I didn't need a root canal. And even then, they're like, we filled your tooth. You might still need a root canal. They're like, it's entirely possible that you'll still need a root canal. And that fucking sucked, because that was immediately after I finally got insurance again. Because I spent like a good 4 or 5 years with no insurance whatsoever, because I couldn't afford any. I was dropped off my parents at 21, because the military says you're an adult at 21 and you don't deserve insurance. And if you want to stay on your parents' insurance, it's pretty much the same price as my apartment's rent was at the time to have that insurance. Which is god-awful as a 21-year-old in college. So I just didn't have insurance for years. And at the same time, I wasn't considered broke enough for any assistance at the time. I am now considered really fucking broke. So I get the benefits of state insurance and dental and all that good stuff, which is both nice and sad. It's sad because I am fucking broke. It's nice because, well, at least I have insurance. At least I can now go to the doctors and the dentists and do the things I need. That is also why it took me 4 years to get diagnosed with Tourette's. Not because it actually took that long for them to diagnose me, but because it took that long for me to be able to see a specialist and actually get diagnosed and treated. I just got TRICARE for health insurance. Nice. I said we had TRICARE Prime is what we had by that point, because, you know, he'd been in the military for his 20 years and all that shit, so we got the good stuff. But I'd argue that TRICARE in general is better than most paid-for insurances. Most public paid-for insurances, I should say. State insurance ain't bad, though. Especially when you got the full coverage stuff. Because it covers... I want to say it covers just about everything, but they do limit you on, like, certain things. Like glasses, I can't get new glasses until next year. Doesn't matter that I need new glasses. They don't cover it. They only cover it once every 2 years. Which I feel like is pretty standard for a lot of insurances. Same thing for cleanings, you know, like dental cleanings and stuff. They only cover it once every certain amount of time, stuff like that. Which I think is also every 2 years. Hopefully my dental gets through soon. I have to pay due to being guard still. Yeah. That's usually how that goes. But... upside, we're almost done with this. I know it's a really long stream today, but I'm vibing. We've been blabbing like crazy in chat. We've been having a good time talking. But I am actually almost done with this head bag. And we'll be able to get him all the way in there and see how it looks. It's gonna look a little ridiculous. It's gonna look like the Pokemon thing. Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! No, it's ChangeForge! It's gonna be very silly. But we will have him officially done today. And then I'll be able to do your little video as well. I guess I do still have to do a little bit of hand sewing on the bottom, but we're almost done. We are almost done. Because I have to finish this seam, and then I have to do the hand sewing around the bottom of the zipper. And then you're done. And he'll be ready to go home. What are we saving? I can't save stitching. I would love to save stitching. I don't have a floppy disk. I'm gonna 3D print a floppy disk so I can smack that. How's that sound? I will 3D print a floppy disk so I can smack it like a live save button for my thread. I can't save stream. Save your work, Donald. It's a simulation. Yes, yes. I have ideas for more fun redeem, like just silly redeems. Are you good? Do I need to smack you? Gross. There we go. She does that sometimes. The dogs have seasonal allergies. Hers aren't that bad, but she gets a little phlegmy when the seasons change, so she starts hacking up phlegm. She's gross. Forrest gets a runny nose and sneezes a lot and gets itchy. Depends on the season. Like in the winter, he gets really itchy. But otherwise, he just gets a runny nose. He's definitely got allergies, but they're not like super noticeable. And it doesn't help that it's dusty as fuck in here. Not in the office per se, but in the house, you know. The office does need to be cleaned though, because it's been... I like to deep clean the office at the end of every commission. Because, first off, Bingus fur gets everywhere. She makes little dust bunnies out of her fur. Second off, fur from fur fabric gets everywhere. And then, like, you might not see it because the floors are brown and it's brown fur, but, like, there's definitely fur on this floor and it needs to be Swiffered. And then mopped, and everything needs to be vacuumed, like, the whole shebang. And I mean, there's stuff everywhere, like, there's boxes, there's empty boxes, there's boxes of fur, there's pens and Sharpies and shit just all over, patterns. It needs to be picked up and put away. A lot of times during a commission, stuff gets places that it doesn't live, and they all need to be put back in their home. Which is why, between commissions, I like to do a deep clean and take a few days to just kind of chill, refresh, and then start the next commission. That being said, my idea of chilling and refreshing from a suit commission is usually just to do art commissions instead, because then I get to draw, and I like drawing, but it's something different from doing a suit, right? I get to sit on the couch, it doesn't take up a lot of space, I don't have to do it, but a lot of times I'll take on an art commission or two and draw those, do a little doodle. But, yeah, the office needs a good cleaning after this. And stuff needs to be picked up and put away, and patterns need to be put back in there. I actually have, so I can show you guys, because I do save my patterns, the ones that I've used. Most of these I'd be willing to share, not all of them, but I bought this new binder because my old binder was getting too full. This binder is already, like, mostly full. I got this at, like, a thrift kind of craft store. And then I have it... I need more of these protectors. I think Shea Griffin still has mine. I need to get them from him. Because this is actually multiple separate pattern pieces. Some of them are like, this is like a hair tuft piece right here. This is a tail. There's another tail behind it. There's also... Because this came out of, like, a pocket that was in the front of the old binder, I also have the customs forms and the priority mail service stuff, because I was, at one point, sending out many customs. I sent, like, 2 or 3 commissions all in a row overseas, so I needed customs forms. And then, of course, the priority mail forms. This is, like, your small things like claws and the pockets for the battery packs. Paper. You never know when you need paper. The yellow section is hand stuff. The orange section is, like, various head and face stuff, so, like, tongues, a mohawk pattern. There's supposed to be a long version of that. Is that in here for some reason? No, this is horns. That is the short mohawk pattern. There's supposed to be another one, and I don't know where it went. This is the headbands, the ear headbands that I used to do. And then here we have feet paws. So this is actually, I want to say the Nexu feet paws. So the three-toed paw. No, wait. That's not, no, this is bird feet. That's what this is. This is the bird feet paws that I did. We've got our plantigrade, our 5-toe adjustables. The other ones that I'm currently doing, that pattern's out on the floor, and that's my standard pattern that I would eventually plan to sell. Technically they're not digitigrade paws. I use them for digitigrade suits because they're so long. I find they fit better with digitigrade suits versus my plantigrade pattern where the foot is physically shorter. But because they're adjustable, the shorter pattern fits up to a smaller shoe size. My Digi feet paw pattern fits up to a men's 15. And that is including if there's a shoe inside of it. I believe it might be a men's 13 if it's a shoe, men's 15 if it's not a shoe. These are various tail patterns, bicolor, tricolor, split different ways. This is a solid canine tail. This is short. This is a tail sleeve. This is a curly tail. These are the nub tail patterns. So purple's the tail section. Blue is bandanas and other various thingies that aren't fursuits. I might sell the bandana pattern. These are patch things that I don't use. I don't know why I have those. This is the paw pillows. So for reference, I want to say this is the medium. Yeah. This is the medium paw. No, this is the small. The mini. Hold on. This is not the medium, because the medium's the next size up. This is the mini, because this is the 13-inch paw. Right? I should label these. Because they're not, like, in their own thing that's labeled. They should be labeled, though. Yeah, we tried to do the alliteration. So this is the mini paw pattern, and this is the size of one of the toes. So, you know, one fingy on that paw is 5 inches-ish. Yeah, it's about 5 inches. So you can see that this is the palm of the mini paw pillow. And then we have the medium, which is a little bit more difficult because they're all folded up. This is the thumb thingy. I think this. This is the palm of the medium, if you can even see that. I might have to remake this pattern on cardstock just because it's so thick. Especially since it's folded up. Make my life easier if it's cardstock. That's the medium. And then this is that same middle finger on the mega. I'm not gonna pull out the paw center of the mega because that's fucking huge. So for reference, this is the finger I showed you on the mini that's 5 inches. And this is the finger on the mega. And the medium is in between. So the pillows get pretty big. And then of course we have the monster, which does not have a default pattern because the monster pillows are individual based. And I think that's all of my patterns, maybe? Yeah. And that's everything in here. This thing is not easy to flip, though, I could tell you that. It's kind of annoying. But I do need to get more of these, like, page protectors so I can separate what's in that one page protector into its own little sections. There we go. That thing also does not fit very well on this binder, so. But I have a few patterns that need to go into there. There we are. But yeah, so like that needs to get put away. Stuff needs to get put in it, I should say. I have many sewing patterns for suits. Some of which I would sell, some of which I wouldn't. For example, some of my tail patterns I might sell, but my standard canine and feline tails I would not, just because that's like a patent shape for me. It's kind of like my style specific shape of tail. Whereas I do have some tail patterns that I wouldn't consider like specific to my style that I've made. Like they're more specific to the characters I made them for originally. Those patterns I'd be willing to sell. My hand paw pattern I won't sell. At least not my 4-finger. I'll sell my 5-finger. But that's because my 4-finger is based off of a free-to-use pattern that I have since modified over the years. So it's extremely similar to a free pattern that is already available. I wish I remembered the name of the person who did the pattern, because I would tell you guys. But it's super easy to find. It's like one of the first patterns that comes up when you search free 4-finger hand paw pattern. Or even just free hand paw pattern. But like my 5-finger one, that one's completely from scratch paw pattern. So I could sell that one. And then my feet paws, I might sell those, stuff like that. Gotta head out and make Din Din, thanks for the stream. Sorry I'll miss out on the raid. I can keep you up for it though, I just won't be here for raid message. You go have dinner, don't worry about it. If you gotta go eat. I didn't realize, this has been a very long stream for me. But you know what, we're running with it, we're streaming today. God only knows, maybe I'll still be streaming by the time you're done eating dinner. I still have a good, like, 12 inches to sew on this inner seam, so it might be another half an hour. Or even 45 minutes, who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Especially if I keep getting distracted. God knows if I keep getting distracted. Woo! Coughing so hard I'm knocking my glasses off. My allergies are also kicking my butt because this weather is killing me. It can't decide if it's warm or cold. Like yesterday, they're like, oh, it's in the 40s. It was so nice yesterday. Today, they're like, oh, it's still almost in the 40s. And they're like, no, it's freezing out there. And then, of course, the birds. The birds be dusty. And they need to go outside. They're still going to be outside birds. They'll be okay outside. They're meant to be outside birds. I've had them inside because we don't have an outside setup at the moment. And it is still pretty chilly out there. So, you know, we want them comfy, happy. And they're so cute. I just wish they would stop fucking getting sand all over my house. Because they're getting it all over the living room rug. I want to vacuum the living room rug really good to get all the extra sand out. And they poop so much and it's stinky. They have really like, they have surprisingly... First off, these are small birds. They're like this big, right? They're like baked potato sized. Tell me how they're dumping shits like almost this big out of their bottoms. Like they take massive dumpies. And then it smells awful. It smells foul. Literally. There's a reason foul is the word. No, like, you expect chickens to smell, right? You don't expect these little tiny guys to smell almost as, like, literally as bad as chickens. Not as bad as ducks, but definitely as bad as chickens. So it's like I'm cleaning their cage multiple times a day to try and make it not be stinky. Problem is they're not pooping into the tray, they're pooping on, like, their food bowl and shit like assholes. And then they're picking fights with each other like assholes too, but, you know, the birds will do that. They're birds. I don't care as long as nobody's bleeding. As long as nobody's got broken bones or nothing. A little scuffle here and there ain't gonna hurt nobody. But yeah, can't wait for them to go outside. They're very stinky little guys. But they are cute. Sorry, I got dry skin on my lip and it's driving me nuts. Brain hole gone. Oh, so Like I said, we named them Mark, Bob, and Wade. Because duh. Bob was the first one we got. He is a very brave bird. I quite literally just kind of found him outside and was like, hey, that's not a wild bird. So I kept him, because he's definitely not a wild bird. There's nobody near us that was his bird. And we're like, well, I don't think anybody's going to know he's even missing, because he's the kind of bird that you keep, like, dozens, if not hundreds of. And even if they did notice that he's missing, they probably think he's dead. And even so, I have a pretty high suspicion that he was one of those birds that people bought for Easter to celebrate the holiday. You know, the way people buy chicks for Easter, or baby bunnies for Easter, and then they just kind of dump them or set them free. I have a feeling he was one of those animals. But he was very brave. He kind of just doesn't give a shit about any of the dogs, me, nothing. He doesn't get happy when I grab him, obviously. When I reach in and do stuff around him, he kind of, you know, walks away. But compared to the other two, he's very brave. He's very polite. He doesn't throw his food or anything like that. And he loves dust baths. Like, as soon as there's like a bowl of dirt in his cage, he's immediately in it and he's kicking it everywhere, making a mess. He loves it. So that's Bob. Bob is adorable. Bob is dark brown. He's called a Rosetta. And then we have Wade, who is a Scarlet. Wade currently has some Bumblefoot. We just got her. Wade and Mark are definitely girls, by the way. We don't know what Bob is. But Wade and Mark are girls. We call them Wade and Mark anyway because we're stupid. And we're not creative, so. Plus, they're birds. They don't care. So, Wade is not quite the smallest. But Wade is a Scarlet. And Wade has Bumblefoot currently, so we're getting that fixed. Wade is extremely skittish. Like, if you come near the cage, he takes off to hide. He hides in corners. He's a very skittish little guy. He doesn't do much. I mean, he does do stuff, but, like, he's mostly a hider. He likes to be in his own little spot away from everybody. Mark is, I want to say a fee. Grow fee, fable fee, whatever you want to call it. Pretty sure that's what he is. Well, she, because Mark is a hen. Mark is the oldest at about 12 weeks. Mark also likes to bitch. Mark is a big complainer. Any minor inconvenience to Mark requires bitching on his behalf. Mark loves to grumble about everything. If one of the other two birds makes him mad, he grumbles. If I makes him mad, he grumbles. Like, it's ridiculous. Mark and Bob like to bicker and fight with each other a little bit. Like, they like to... Bob likes to pick fights with the other two, right? Because he'll be all mad that they're in his personal space. And so then he kind of pecks at them. But Mark will just sit there and growl about it. And be like, my personal space, so... And he's frequently in somebody else's space because he's a big ass. He's the biggest one. And he doesn't give a shit. So, there's occasionally scuffles over food. And who gets to be at the food dish at that time. And it's like, guys, it's a whole food dish. You don't have to be in the same spot to eat out of it. It's a whole thing. Wade, I lied. Wade does do one thing. Wade throws food more than he eats it. The other two are super polite. They gently pick up their little nibbles and they eat them. Wade shoves his little face in and just throws it out of the cage. So it's all over everywhere but in the cage. Which pisses me off to no end, and I think Wade is fully aware of that. I think Wade does it just to piss me off. Just to give me more things to clean. Mark also really likes their big tunnel Heidi. I should have gotten a different Heidi, because that one is a fully circular one. Which means also that Mark frequently shits on it. All day long. And it stinks, and I have to clean it all the time. So I'm either going to get a different Heidi, or I'm gonna modify that one because it's a woven basket type thing. So I should be able to just like stitch it and then cut it. I would think. I don't actually know. One would assume, though. But you know what they say about assuming? That's how you end up with a bunch of birds in your house. But we're hoping that they'll lay us some eggs. And we'll have some nice little eggies soon. Of course, we don't actually know if Bob's a girl or a boy, which means I have suspicions that Bob is a girl. Mostly because Bob is kind of at maturity, and he's not doing like any sort of male behaviors. He's not crowing, he's not trying to mount the girls or anything like that. He's not being aggressive in any real way. Like, he's being kind of an asshole, but he's not being super aggressive. I need pliers to get through this. Sorry, Bingus, didn't mean to scare you. She jumped a little bit when I ripped that drawer open. I know, Bingle, your life is so rough. So rough. And then I'm going to stitch this last tiny little bit closed, because we don't actually want this to come undone at the very bottom here. So I'm just going to make several loops. Wow, I am hungry apparently. It's a good thing we're just about done then. Flip this to make sure it looks good. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, awesome. That solved that whole issue then. Yeah. I'm gonna feed it through. Trim our end. There we go. Now I am realizing there's one thing I didn't do, and that was tacking stitches along the way. Because fuck me. So I am going to do a tacking stitch or two, just to keep it from being... Because otherwise, what you'll end up with is shit like this, which you don't really want. It's not a problem per se, but it will be annoying when you go to, put your suit in and your whole thing comes apart and it's a whole thing, When your whole thing is a whole thing, it's a problem. So I'm just going to do a little top stitch type deal in here. In fact, actually, can I do it on the machine? Will it let me? We'll find out. 'Cause I prefer to rather than hand stitching each of these. It'll look nicer and it'll be stronger because it'll be consistent stitches. Technically, the nicest would have been if I'd done it on the inside in the first place, but I did not. And it's too late to go back now. We're going to do one right here at the front of the muzzle. If I can get it under the fucking presser foot, maybe. No! That's alright. We didn't like him anyway. What would you fucking... Okay. I'm on a crusade too. I don't know what any of this means. I do not play this game. Okay, well, clearly, this just ain't gonna work. So, let's get you off of there. Come on. Oh, well, it helps if I actually, you know, lift the fucking presser foot. There we go. And I guess we'll hand stitch them. Ah. I see. I didn't know that's what that was called. See, my only experience with, Cult of the Lamb is Shay's streams. And most of my experience with that is committing crimes against them. Like, big old poops and, dead people. Broken toilets. I like the broken toilet one. I don't know why that's become my thing, is to do, like, the poop theming of the game. Like, if it's poop, it exists. And I shall commit the poop crimes. But I don't know, that's my thing now, I guess. At least on their streams it is. Okay, so we're going to go from this seam through to this seam. And then we're going to come back in on the inside. Uh-oh. Oh, good. I was worried for a second. I was like, oh no, I thought I'd looped onto my own thread, which would have been a problem. But we're good, because I didn't. Flip. And we're going to go like this. Well, come on. Cooperate with me. There we go. And then we're going to just feed it through to cut off a long end. And there's one little tack. There we go. So now your muzzle will actually stay in the muzzle spot. And I'm kind of just going to do... I don't really know where a good spot for this one would be. But we're going to say right fucking here. That's not the seam at all. There we go. I got this, I think. Maybe. Do I got this? I got this. There we go. And I'm putting all the knots and stuff on the inside of the head bag so they're not super noticeable on the outside and it looks nicer. And then I'm trying to hide my tail ends in the fabric. Yeah. There we go, and that's tacked down, and I think... I'm gonna tack down the tops of the antlers to just this one. Well, I don't really want to tack that. So here's the thing, right? I want to tack it, but I don't. I want to tack it so that way the fabric doesn't want to try and invert, because it really wants to invert. But if I tack it, it might give you some trouble. I'm going to tack it in the middle here, rather than... Have fun at your VR meet! I'm almost done, I swear. There's always just one more thing that needs to be like, oh, I'm done. No, wait, I want to do this other thing. Wait, I want to do this other thing. I want to do this other thing, because it just makes it slightly nicer if I do the other thing. But have fun at your VR meet. I'll message you. You know me. I'll message you. I'll show you when it's all finished. Alright, go like so. And this is a seam. I'm kind of just feeling spots right now to make this tack, because I can't actually see this tack at the moment. You know what? Not bad. I am consistently slightly off. But it's fine, because it's not even visible, and it's close enough that it's not an issue. Your piece is still stitched to where it needs to be stitched, which is what matters. That's a good tack right there. And then this is in the middle of the antler section. So it'll first off keep it from inverting, and then it will be between the points, hopefully, so the points will still have plenty of puff around them. Because that's my worry with the tacking, is that it kind of creates a, you can see it right here, it creates a pinch where the fabric can't physically puff away from the inner fabric. So, you know, it has its pros and cons, but we're putting it in a spot where it won't be where a point is, so the points will all still have the proper amount of padding that they need. Which, again, if I'd thought about this, I would have done that before I'd stitched everything closed and stuffed it and all that good stuff. But what matters is that it's done, because I think this is definitely something to make it a really, really good improvement, rather than just a loosey-goosey bag. Same thing here, stitch here. Wait, I lied. We're gonna stitch on the inside. Ouch, I stabbed me. Here through to here. Okay, and then here. Through to here. That one was much better. Still consistently slightly off, though. So interesting. I mean, if nothing else, I am consistent. And sometimes that's all that matters with things, is being consistent. Like, a lot of fursuit making is not perfectionism. Like, some of it is. Like, some things do have to be quite literally perfect in order to work. But for a lot of it, it just has to be consistent to be good. And, you know, you learn over the years which parts are which and what does what. So, now we should be done. Fingies crossed. Let us rotate out onto the floor so you can actually see foot. We don't care about foot. Foot gets to go over there right now. I'm going to try to do this in a way that you guys can see better, hopefully. So he's got his neck tucked in already. We're going to put his antlers in first. Which is a little easier said than done. Some of this takes a little bit of finagling. So this antler wants to get stuck on certain parts of the bag itself. Let's move it so that way it's behind his ears. That's also important, is that it can actually get behind his ears. And if we are properly rotated in our bag, that helps us get up into the parts that we need to be up into. There we go. I'm going to do this gently because we don't want to hurt nothing. So this may take a little bit of shifting. Eventually this stuffing will kind of fall into place and... Yippee! I heard a yippee. What are we yippieing? What is the yippee? Stream check-in. Thank you for the check-in. I changed all the audios for the stream redeems so that way hopefully I would learn them and remember. But, you know, I'm not good at that, so... Remembering or learning. There we go. Now, we should be able to zip them up all nice. And there we go, the boy is in the bag. He looks like a fucked up little bunny rabbit. Somebody's gonna be like, oh my gosh, what kind of derg is that? It's gonna be great. Who's that Pokemon? It does look a little silly, but it's very functional, which is what's important. What's important is that he sits in here red, and he's, you know, able to get backed a little bit and not be hurt, which is why he's all padded up. And, you know, he's easy to carry. Would I throw him in this? No. You shouldn't be, you know, throwing fursuits. But if you're walking with him and you know, bump into somebody or, you know, accidentally whack him against a wall, he'll be aight. He looks so silly in there. He looks so silly in there. But he is done. He is done. He is comfy. He's in his bag. So since that took 3 hours, I am not going. I was originally planning, because sometimes I do plan things. I was originally planning on doing more work. I was going to do a different commission as well on stream. But since that took 3 hours, we are not going to do that. I am fucking hungry. So, Kasumio looks like they are rug tufting. They say giant rug tufting frame. But I don't actually know what they're up to at the moment. And now they're not there. Okay, let's see who else is on. See if we can find somebody new, because nobody else we're following at the moment is on. We could go to some embroidery, if everybody's down for embroidery. Working on a lost and found piece from 2023. Hell yeah. Let's go pop into there. We'll go pop it, we'll bug them. We'll say hi, we'll look at their pretty embroidery. And I will see you guys on Friday for our gaming stream, and then hopefully next Monday we will have a new commission to be working on. Whether or not we actually do that on Monday is debatable. If we don't, I'll just do a bonus gaming stream. If that sounds like a plan for everybody else. I think that's the plan. But I should have a new commission by Monday. So I will see you guys on Friday. Bye guys. Bye.